Hello Stampin' friends, this is Lisa from Live and Let Stamp, and today we're going to be making a fun fold. It's called a front flip card, and we're gonna make it using one of the sets from the new catalog, 2023-2024 annual catalog from Stampin' Up. So first, let's go ahead and make our card base. So I'm using some new colors today. This is the Berry Burst, which I love. It's just such a beautiful dark pink. I always like to pull from the center to make a card base, make sure those corners are nice and squared off. This is a regular A2 size card. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that at 5.5. And then we're gonna score it at 4.25. Go ahead and use my bone folder to give that a nice crease. Now, in order to make the flap, we're going to use the cutter and we're just gonna cut in. We're gonna open it up and we're gonna cut in at 1.25 inches. So we're just gonna go ahead and slide this to the fold. Okay, so we have that first flap, and I have 1.25 on the cutter. It's on the right side as well, which is really handy to do this particular card. Again, I'm gonna bring that right down to the fold, and there's a little line that helps you. There's a little line right there on the cutting blade that helps you make sure that's lined up. If you go a little too far, it's really not a big deal. So now we have our flaps. We want these two outside ones, we just want those to stay put. So we're gonna go ahead and glue those down. And I'm going to use my Stampin' seal, get a nice strong hold there. There's our first flap is down, and we'll go ahead and do the same for our second flap. I like to kind of do that right to the edge if I can, since we want it to stay down permanently. Okay. Now we're ready to add the DSP. Again, I am using the Bright and Beautiful Designer Series paper. This is a beautiful set of paper, and I love it because it uses a lot of the new colors. It has your Azure Afternoon, Berry Burst, Blueberry Bushel, Bubble Bath, Fresh Freesia, Lemon Lime, Twist Lemon Lolly, Lost Lagoon, Misty Moonlight, and Pretty Peacock. So it's bringing in all of those beautiful colors. I just love this collection. Nice backgrounds, nice patterns, all those beautiful colors. Very festive for a birthday card or a celebration card. So we're gonna be using this diagonal stripe paper. And to also go along with that diagonal theme, we're gonna be using the back of this one, which also has diagonals, kind of like a houndstooth pattern is what it reminds me of. For these sides, we need to cut 2 pieces that are 1x4. So we're gonna cut this at 1 inch. And another 1 inch. And we're we're gonna cut those by 4 inches. And those will go on the sides. For our diagonal, that piece needs to be also 4 inches by 2 3/4. All right. So now we're ready to adhere those. That one lines up. So it all lines up across the top and across the bottom. So there is our card base. Next, we're going to make the cupcake. Circle Sings is a very versatile set. I love it because it has such nice fonts, such nice sentiments, birthday, smile, today, a warm hello because you're awesome, thank you. And then it has these arched words, thinking of you, sending you a smile today, or sending you a thank you or a warm hello. And then you have this arch with the flowers, and you have shells. You have this really pretty beach scene, and then we have our cupcake and our celebrate circle, and these are the two we're going to be using. So this is photopolymer, so I will need my mat. Get my mat. Just using a piece of basic white cardstock. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. To stamp our celebrate circle. Now we're gonna stamp our cupcake. And I want that as close to the middle as possible. So I'm gonna get right over it and stamp. On the cupcake, it's super important that I use the Memento ink because I'm going to be using the Stampin' blends, which are alcohol markers. And if you use any other kind of ink besides a dye ink, the black ink will run. You don't want it to run. So we use the Memento dye ink. I don't have the new colors. I don't have Bubble Bath, I don't have Lemon Lolly. I haven't bought those new Stampin' blends. But what I do have is a light Daffodil Delight, which I'll be using for the icing. And I'm gonna be using, actually I need the light Flamingo. Grab the wrong marker. I'll be right back. Voila. I'll be using the light Flirty Flamingo Stampin' blend. For the cupcake, I like chocolate cupcakes with vanilla icing. That is my favorite. So I'm gonna make my cupcake early espresso using my Stampin' Right markers. And that's where I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start on my cupcake. So I wanna use the brush tip. You have a pointed tip and you get a brush tip. I'm just gonna use the brush tip to color the cupcake, which is right in here. A nice deep chocolatey cupcake. So I'm very adamant about this. If it's chocolate icing, it needs to be a vanilla cupcake. And if it's chocolate cupcake, it needs to be vanilla icing. That's just my rule. I know people love chocolate cake with chocolate icing, but it's just too much chocolate for me. All right, here's where the fun begins. Even though I'm only using one shade or color of the Stampin' Blend alcohol markers, because they're alcohol markers, the more you go over it, the deeper the color. So even though I want to make my cupcake top really light, I also want to give it a little bit of contour. So I am using the brush tip, this one, as opposed to this one. And I'm gonna be careful just to go over it one time, because if I go over it more, it's gonna be too dark. So I'm coloring it one time. Make sure I get all the little spots there. Okay, that's a lovely yellow icing. It's beautiful. But if I go ahead and go over it, where would the shadows be? They would be right where you did your swirls. So I'm just gonna go over that a little bit more and right down here by the cupcake. So now it has just a little bit, you can see it's a little bit lighter right there in the middle and a little darker where the icing overlaps. Now my light flirty flamingo for the cupcake wrapper. Again, I like the brush tip. Got to get these little corners here because that's where the wrapper wraps around the cupcake. And then again, I'm just going to go over it one time. This can be very relaxing. Make a bunch of cards and color. You don't want to get too close to the edge because alcohol does seep. It'll soak in and go outside of your border if you get too close. So again, I'm gonna just do a little shading. For this one, I'm gonna switch to this tip. I'm just gonna go in like where the folds might be. There. Cupcake is made and looks delicious. To cut out my cupcake, I'm gonna use the 2 3/8 punch. Which comes in the bundle when you buy the Circle Saying bundle. This is what it comes with, just for this. I'm gonna line that up. Try to get it equidistant on all the sides as best I can. And punch. There it is. You get these little points because the circle punch has points to cut into the paper to get it started. So if you just kind of just take your fingernails and just kind of go around the edge where those little points are, it makes it nice and flat again. So this could go right there and it would be very pretty, but I like to matte things. So I used Bubble Bath, one of the new colors. The Bubble Bath, which is such a pretty pink. And we're going to do a stitched edge circle using the Stylish Shapes dies. I use these so much. I lost one of them. I am heartbroken because I lost my large banner there. And you know I love mats, so I'm hoping this will go on clearance one day when it retires and I can buy another set so I can get that die back. I have torn my craft room apart looking for that die and I cannot find it. I'm afraid it might have fallen in the garbage can that I keep right by my table, and I think it got thrown out. Anyway, I need the circle today. I always number mine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to use, starting with the middle, and I'm going to use number 5 because I don't want a huge border or mat around the edge. I just want a little border. You could use a bigger one, but I really wanted the focus to really be on that DSP and that cupcake, and this will just set it off a bit. So I just need to cut out a piece of bubble bath cardstock and run that through my die cutter. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay. So I run that through, and I have my nice circle. So to adhere this, I'm going to use the Tombow liquid glue, so it has a little bit of play, so I can make sure it's nice and centered. Another reason why you might want to mat this is because, as you can see, alcohol markers show through a lot, and because you're only attaching half of this, then your alcohol marker would show when the card opened. So that's another reason to mat it. So I'm just going to put that on. Kind of use that stitching to make sure it's in the center and get that pressed down. Awesome. Now it's ready to go on the card. It's gonna go right about there. So you don't wanna put glue everywhere. That's important because this doesn't get any glue, okay? Because that needs to open. So I'm just gonna lay this right here. I'm gonna kind of use this line on my paper that I'm using. And I know I need to put glue on this side of that line. So I'm going to use liquid glue, and now I'm going to go ahead and put this back on. Now because it's liquid glue, I'll have a little give that I can make sure it's straight. Kind of looking at that cupcake bottom, making sure that's even. There we go. It's a little higher than it was on this card, but it still looks really good. And to add a little bling, I'm gonna add 3 sequins. And this is from the pastel adhesive backed sequins, these pink ones. And they're actually 2 pages. One of them is larger than the other, so you get large and small, which gives you some flexibility in the look. So I used 2 large and 1 small. I like to pull these off with tweezers. I'm gonna put one about, I'm gonna put it on the yellow there so it shows up a little better. And another large one. I'm gonna put it over, let's see, let's put it on this one. And then a small pink one, and we're just gonna kind of put it there. There's magic in 3s. I like 3s. And there's our finished card front. So for the inside of the card, I need some white cardstock and a strip of the diagonal paper to kind of tie that to the front. This needs to be 2 3/4 inches by a 1/2 inch. So I like this side. So I'm gonna do the 1/2 inch by 2 3/4. And the white piece needs to be 4 inches by 2 3/4. And this will go right on the bottom. Right there. Again, I'm lining it up right with these two sides, the DSP on the side pieces. And voila, there's our card. It's a fun card to make. It's a fun card to give. Your recipient will love it. You can also make it to celebrate other occasions besides using the cupcake. This graduation hat is from an old set, but my daughter's graduating from college in another week or two, and I decided to make her a graduation card using this same basic fun fold. And on this one, I used some, on the 3 circles in the celebrate, I used some pretty little dots, and I used stars, and I really like those diagonals on the side. So lots of ways you can use this set. I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. I would love to see some comments in the comments section. They just make my day. And have a wonderful rest of your day.